have I dreamed of the whisper of dreamless sleep? Oh, sleep, sleep now, in shining blackness sleep. Hello, and welcome once again to the show that is still tentatively titled, I Got It Online. I'm your host, Aaron, and today we'll be talking about some great records. At least I feel they are pretty great records. So, it's been, I believe, just over 4 months now since the last episode, and it's good to be back after all of this time. And some of you might be wondering just what happened there. Why was there such a long period of time? Well, there was no one particular reason. There was a lot of life stuff, personal issues that arose. Nothing horrible or anything like that. But, life always gets in the way of your passions. Other than that, there was one issue with regards to the show proper that did give me a bit of pause and make me wonder if doing this show in the way that it was going to be done was really something that was worth continuing to do. Now, I have not mentioned this, but on the last episode of I Got It Online, I did receive 2 copyright claims. Not strikes, not takedowns, 2 copyright claims. There was music in the video, obviously, that had been matched with the content ID, and this is not me saying that these artists do not deserve to get compensated. This is not me saying that I was 100% in the right with regards to how I conducted the show, but it did give me pause. It made me think, if I'm going to be constantly engaging with content on YouTube as a platform, maybe I should consider a different format for the show. So I thought about it for a while, and in the end, I think that as much of a risk as it is to continue doing the show in this fashion, I will continue posting reviews and leaving clips of the songs in the show. I feel it's very important for people to experience the music in the way that I have been doing this. So in the future, this show will likely continue to get copyright notifications. If it does continue to receive those, I will not be receiving I probably won't be receiving any of the money for any episode if there is an ad before it. I just want to put that out right now. I currently do not monetize my videos, and I don't think I will have the ability to for quite some time, because most of you are not liking, sharing, subscribing, hitting the notification bell, calling your mom when there's a new episode up, letting your boss know that you got to take today off because there's a new episode of the show up. So really, in some regards, it's not really an issue at all because I'm not making any money, and so I think in the long run I'll be fine. I do have some concerns, as many content creators do, with regards to copyright on YouTube. I won't get too deep into the weeds. I'm not saying that the copyright issues that I had on the last episode were malicious. They were completely by content ID. I was not struck maliciously, and I did not fight the copyright. I left it on there. If those artists whose music was claimed by the content ID are receiving money, that's not really a huge issue for me, no. And in the future, it will not be a huge issue for me with regards to the show. That is what I'm going to call somewhat of a calculated risk for doing a show like this in the way that I will continue to do this into the future, because I do feel like having a review is one thing. Getting to actually listen to the music is very, very important, as much as it is to hear it from me. In the end, my review is my opinion, and I feel the best way to show off an artist, a band, is really just to show off the artist or the band. It's very difficult to get a grasp on an artist that you've never heard before, for example. So that's why I will continue to keep posting the music along with the reviews. And the only time I will engage in the copyright claim discussion is if there's something like, say, a takedown notice. If there's really something like a malicious attempt to take down my channel, I will see fighting it then. But in the long run, I harbor no ill will to anybody who anybody whose music is in the Content ID system. That's what I'm going to call a calculated risk from now on. I do feel that this type of video falls under fair use, but that this is part of the reason why I was a little hesitant to do another episode, because I have heard of all of the stories that other YouTubers have had to deal with regards to copyright on YouTube, because they're using other people's content in their work. And don't get me wrong, this is not about saying artists should not be compensated for the work. This is not me saying that my rights as a critic are above the creator's rights. And I do feel unfairly compensating artists as much as possible. That's not just me saying it as a fan of music. I am also a creator of music as well. And, I understand how costly even just as a hobby music can be. So, considering what we've been through in 2020, 2021, and likely going forward, possibly into even 2022, I feel it's more important than ever to fairly compensate artists, especially considering how things are in the independent music industry right now. If you can go out, buy an album wherever possible, do that. That's why I do this show. So I raise awareness of certain artists so I can help promote them in a time when it is very difficult to make art and be fairly compensated for it. I mean, it's always been difficult to be fairly compensated for your art, but even more so now than ever. But anyways, I just wanted to give you guys a little heads up on what happened, what was with the gap, and some of my thoughts with regards to what happened and where we'll be going forward into the future. So I do want to thank all of the artists who have been on the show so far. You're all wonderful, and you will continue to be wonderful into the future. If you do have an issue with having your content on the show, if you would like to register a complaint, please send that to metameatball@gmail.com. I will be sure to file it away under the appropriate folder. That would be the trash bin, as soon as possible. So to begin with, what a terrible way to start this show. Rambling on we are currently at 10 minutes and 34 seconds. Starting the show with some bad poetry, rambling on for 10 and a half minutes. We are just sinking this steamboat So we'll be getting to the reviews right away, as soon as possible. But before we do that, I'd like to go to the phones, as they say, and invite you, that's you listening to this right now, to register your complaints, issues, so and so forth. If you have anything that you've been listening to that's really piqued your interest over the past, few months, please feel free to send me a message about it, and we will have it on the show. So let's get to our first listener review.
I recently listened to the new Evanescence album, and it sort of seems to me that it's just a new version of her old songs, but worse somehow.
So there we go. There is our first listener review. The latest Evanescence album. I don't know what it's called, but not very good. And I would like to attest to that fact. I've only heard one song. I did not think very much of it. So there we go. That is our first listener review of the show. So with that being said, let's get to the reviews in earnest. First review is the latest from the You Suck Flying Circus. Ohio collective, the You Suck Flying Circus, delve deep into the agreeable black metal of Death Heaven at their most populist. The band evokes the histrionic theatricality of the genre while drawing from the well of psychedelic and post-rock. Admittedly, this is not a record for genre purists, as the You Suck Flying Circus find themselves often embattled with the minimalism of Slint and Mogwai. But the genre experimentation works remarkably well, finding the band dwelling on lengthy meditative passages before erupting into blissful cacophony. It is undoubtedly a bold artistic statement that demands the listener's full attention, but the reward is worth the journey. Nerves by Bloated Subhumans. A perfectly apocalyptic journey into the most depraved aspects of the psyche. This is the soundtrack for loners, fuck-ups, and dirtbags, but don't think G.G. Allen. Nerves is putrid and ugly barely music for those of you who think Shit and Shine has too much melody. Bloated Subhumans' Nerves is as disquieting as it is repugnant, evoking early industrial as much as they do Drunks with Guns. It is an absolutely bleak release, wallowing in its own sense of self-loathing. It's noisy, cacophonous, unpleasant, and doesn't give one single shit about how uncomfortable you are with its hypnotic, torturous crawl. For the Love of It by Femur. An absolute wrecking ball of an album, For the Love of It is a muscular outing for the Ontario three-piece. Femur effortlessly channels the relentless pathos of Ken Mode with sheer furious bravado, sounding less like a band than a steamroller with purpose. Still, despite tracks like Galazi, and Just Because You Can doesn't mean you should, hitting like a sledgehammer, Femur's sludgy riffs unfortunately grind heavily against their influences. Regardless, For the Love of It is no slavish imitation, and Femur proved themselves a highly capable force to be reckoned with. So there you have it, 3 record reviews from 3 great bands. I had planned to include more, however this episode was getting a little long, so I decided to hold off on those until next week when I do the Bandcamp Friday special. As a reminder, as always, Bandcamp Friday is coming up, and it will be this May 7th, so keep your ears peeled next week for some quality records to add to your collection that particular day. If you would like to submit some music to the show, or if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can feel free to email that to metameatball@gmail.com. I cannot promise that submitting your music to the show will guarantee a review. However, I can promise that I will give it a listen. As always, I would like to thank you all very much for tuning in, and you have yourselves a great day.